I'm 45 years old, and I've spent my entire life in the same Midwestern town. For years, I believed I had a stable family. My wife, our daughter, and a modest home filled with laughter, shared meals, and the quiet comfort that comes with routine. But everything collapsed 2 years ago when I discovered my wife's affair with a man she had met at a work event. That night when I confronted her, her eyes were cold, her attitude unapologetic, and my world began to crumble. The confrontation led to separation. My wife insisted our daughter, then 17, needed stability and claimed she was the one who could provide it. The divorce dragged on for months, filled with arguments over finances and belongings. When it was finalized, my wife walked away with a large portion of my savings, leaving me resentful but relieved. Least I thought peace would follow. But peace never came. What truly broke me was my daughter's response. I believed she would understand the damage caused by betrayal and how it destroys trust. Instead, she defended her mother, downplaying the affair by saying, "People fall out of love. It's not that serious." I was shocked. While I didn't expect her to condemn her mother, I never imagined she would dismiss the betrayal. To make things worse, just a week after the divorce was finalized, my daughter announced she was moving in with her mother and her new boyfriend, a wealthy man who impressed her with promises of shopping trips, fancy dinners, and the glamour of a downtown condo. I tried reasoning with her, offering her a place in my home if she ever felt uncomfortable. She brushed me off with an eye roll, saying, "Dad, you're overreacting. Mom and her boyfriend aren't doing anything wrong." The betrayal pierced my heart. After everything we had endured, she seemed to prefer luxury over loyalty. When she turned 18, she approached me with a list of demands: college tuition, a designer handbag, and a high-end laptop among them. Part of me wanted to help, but the entitlement in her tone stung. I told her I would support her education, but only if she acted responsibly and showed respect. She accused me of being controlling and punishing her for living with her mother. Her words opened my eyes. She wanted my financial support while mocking my values and defending her mother's choices. The anger and betrayal lingered, a constant reminder of how much I had already lost. Months went by, and I watched her grow closer to her mother's boyfriend, flaunting their outings on social media. Photos of her at upscale restaurants and front-row concert seats filled my feed. A painful reminder of everything I could never afford on a single dad's income. Then a notice from her college arrived. She was failing classes and skipping lectures to party. When I confronted her, she shrugged, saying, "It's my life, Dad. Stop interfering." Felt torn. On one hand, I wanted to support her. On the other, it was clear that enabling her would only fuel her entitlement. My ex-wife was no help. She seemed indifferent. Meanwhile, her boyfriend encouraged the partying, calling me uptight and saying my daughter should enjoy life. The situation peaked when her college threatened suspension due to poor attendance and unpaid fees. When I tried to talk to her, she dismissed me, saying, "None of your business." When I reminded her I was paying her tuition, she snapped, "You owe me that much. Isn't that what a father's supposed to do?" That was my breaking point. I had spent 18 years raising her, yet she treated me like nothing more than a wallet, obligated to fund her choices without question. I decided to take a stand. I told her I wouldn't pay another cent unless she changed her behavior. No more skipped classes, no more reckless partying. She exploded, accusing me of controlling her and punishing her for living with her mother's boyfriend. My ex-wife bombarded me with texts calling me petty and threatening legal action, but there was nothing she could do. Our daughter was an adult now and had to face the consequences of her actions. What followed was humiliating. My daughter took to social media, painting me as a toxic father and bragging that her mother's boyfriend would support her if I didn't. Her posts were filled with cruel remarks about my bitterness and inability to move on. Her friends added fuel, leaving comments like, "You deserve better." My ex-wife's boyfriend even messaged me directly, mocking me with lines like, "No wonder your wife left you. You can't even provide for your daughter." Each word cut deeply, but I refused to respond. Then the cracks in my daughter's so-called dream life began to show. The boyfriend's generosity, it turned out, came with limits. He would buy her extravagant dresses or cover dinner at expensive restaurants. But when it came to real responsibilities, tuition, rent, groceries, he brushed her off with, "Ask your father." Word of this reached me through mutual contacts. As the second semester neared, my daughter's college threatened suspension again, this time for unpaid fees. Desperate, she called me, her tone mixed with panic and entitlement, saying, "Dad, you have to cover this or I'll lose my spot." For a moment I almost gave in, but then I remembered all the times I had been disregarded. My values dismissed, my pain ignored. This time I stayed strong. I calmly told her I wouldn't pay unless she took real responsibility. She brushed me off with casual promises, saying, "I'll do better, just pay now." But I didn't give in. Instead, I laid out clear expectations. She needed to attend every class, meet with her advisors, and consider a part-time job to handle her own expenses. Furious, she hung up on me. The fallout was immediate. My ex-wife accused me of sabotaging our daughter's future out of spite and once again threatened legal action, but she had no case. Our daughter was an adult now, and no court could force me to finance her lifestyle. Then her boyfriend chimed in, posting snide comments online about how some fathers can't handle their duties. The public mockery was infuriating, but I refused to respond. This wasn't about revenge or bitterness. It was about boundaries. A month later, the inevitable happened. My daughter was suspended from college for unpaid tuition. She moved in permanently with her mother and her mother's boyfriend. My ex tried to frame it as a blessing, saying, "She's better off here anyway. We'll help her find a new direction." But I noticed the cracks through my daughter's social media. Angry rants, late-night party photos, and a growing sense of aimlessness. The glamorous life she once flaunted was unraveling. Then one afternoon the doorbell rang. When I opened it, my daughter stood there trembling, eyes red from tears, and without a word, she hugged me tightly. My heart raced, caught between hope and confusion. I let her in, and as she sat at the kitchen table, she broke down. Through sobs, she admitted how her mother's boyfriend had become controlling, how her mother always took his side, and how they both blamed her for every inconvenience. The life of fancy dinners, shopping sprees, and the flashy condo had turned into a toxic, manipulative cage. "I miss talking to you without yelling," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. It hurt to see her so fragile. I made tea and let her pour her heart out. After some time, she asked if I'd help her re-enroll in college or at least cover her fees. My heart ached to say yes, but I couldn't ignore months of disrespect and entitlement. I answered carefully, "I'm willing to help, but only if you show me you've changed. You'll need to meet me halfway." She nodded, promising she would. Yet I wasn't ready to lower my guard. I set clear conditions. She had to move back with me, or find a safe, independent place away from her mother's toxic home. She also needed therapy so we could mend our bond, and she had to prove consistency in her studies. To my surprise, she agreed, though I sensed her hesitation about leaving her mother. Still, that was my line in the sand. I wouldn't pay a cent if she stayed under the same roof that had endorsed the affair that destroyed our family. She left that evening, saying she needed time to plan. I half expected her to slip back into old habits, posting jabs online or letting her mother and the boyfriend fill her head with poison. But days later, she returned with a small suitcase. Her mother and the boyfriend exploded with anger, calling her ungrateful and accusing her of betrayal. "I've never seen Mom so furious," she admitted, her voice trembling. Inside, I felt a grim sense of vindication. Their control over her had slipped away, and they knew it. Over the next weeks, my daughter began therapy. She opened up about feeling torn during the divorce, about being dazzled by the boyfriend's flashy lifestyle, and about how she had dismissed my pain in exchange for easy thrills. We had long, difficult conversations at the kitchen table, about trust, disappointment, and rebuilding. Slowly, I saw glimpses of the daughter I raised. Compassionate, determined, but misguided by toxic influence. Meanwhile, her mother lingered in the background, sending guilt-ridden texts and accusing her of betrayal. The boyfriend occasionally hijacked her phone to spit insults at both of us. But this time my daughter resisted, ignoring their attempts to manipulate her. I made it clear. If you choose to reconcile with them, that's your decision. But I won't support you financially if you go back to that environment. She understood. For once, there were no accusations of me being controlling. She saw that I wasn't punishing her. I was protecting boundaries, not from spite but necessity. We re-enrolled her in a nearby community college, and she took a part-time job at a bookstore to help with expenses. It was a symbolic step, showing she no longer expected me to fund everything. One evening she came to me with tears in her eyes and said, "Dad, I'm sorry for defending Mom's affair. I didn't realize how much it must have hurt you." Hearing her take responsibility lifted a weight from my shoulders. I told her, "I accept your apology. Let's move forward together." Slowly our home life stabilized. Her grades improved, and she became more accountable. One night she admitted, "I see now how an affair can break a family. He's a manipulator, Dad." I didn't notice because I was blinded by the gifts. I didn't lecture her. Mistakes, especially for young adults navigating broken families, are inevitable. What mattered was her remorse and growth. Cutting her off financially had been the wake-up call she needed. It forced her to learn that respect and support go both ways. Meanwhile, my ex-wife and her boyfriend faced the consequences of their arrogance. They lost control over my daughter's future, while she and I began to rebuild a relationship based on honesty and mutual respect. We're taking things one day at a time. She isn't perfect, and neither am I. But for the first time in years we're truly communicating, and that's a start.